much weight should you lift? Where do you start? How do you progress? How do you know you're ready to do more? Or how do you know you should be doing less with certain muscle groups? I'm Deborah Atkinson, founder of Flipping 50. It's one of the most commonly asked questions for those who are about to start a program. They're either thinking about it or wanting to know if they have all the right equipment at home, or they're just getting started and want to know, what do I need in order to do this program? So when we're talking about our Flipping 50 12-week stronger program, we're talking about generally at least 3 sets of weights, maybe a resistance ball, so a big resistor ball, 65 or 55 centimeters depending on height, and maybe a weighted vest, maybe a kettlebell. But those 3 sets of dumbbells are the base. So everybody needs those. And if you have them, you're good to go. So let's talk about when you use them. When do you use light or moderate or heavy? And I'll give you a little tip on how to choose what is light, what is moderate, or what is heavy. It's different for you and for me. But I can tell you that here's approximately, and this is a range and that's a range, but I want you to make sure that you're listening to, this is not an absolute. And what you choose for your light will depend or determine what's your moderate and what's your heavy. So let's just give you a broad idea. Where would it be a good idea to start with a supply of these dumbbells or access to them if you're doing this at home? So small or very light is generally 2, 3, or up to 5 pounds. And those we'll come back to, but generally you're gonna do that if you're a beginner. You want a very light set so that you can not overload the muscles or the tendons, the ligaments, what we call connective tissue, before it's ready. We have to lay a really good foundation. But we also all have small muscle groups like the rotator cuff muscles in your shoulder that I use 3-pound weights when I'm focusing on something for my postural needs, or I'm doing those small muscle groups at the end of a workout where they belong. I'm already fatigued. So we want to reach muscular fatigue with whatever weight that takes, and you want to have a variety so that you can choose. So beginners starting out or super small muscle groups, we want those smaller weights available to us. Now, here's a little tip. If you don't have those weights at home, don't necessarily go out and buy them. Go into your kitchen, go into your pantry and look for water bottles that you've been either given or water bottles that you've purchased, even the throwaway kind with a big enough neck so that you can put rocks and pebbles inside, put sand over that and pour water in. Close that up. Just hold those on your bathroom scale and measure how much weight is that. So you may be able to get somewhere between 3 and 5 pounds just by doing that without buying something and maybe going out into your backyard. Real easy. So we got creative during the pandemic. Some of those things still apply and we could still use them. So there's your light weights. Moderate weights. Now, if you chose 2 or 3 pounds, your moderate weight is probably going to start maybe even at 5, but at 8 pounds. But moderate range is probably between about 8 to 10 or 12 pounds and up to 15. Again, we're all different. So depending on the years of experience or the months of experience you've had with strength training or your daily activities. If you're somebody who has, for instance, you have a farm or you have horses and you pick up bales of hay, you're lifting on a regular basis, you're going to be a little stronger than the next woman who is your age and your stage of menopause. So don't compare yourself to anyone else. Just kind of gauge, how does this feel to me? And those first couple of weeks of lifting following a program will inform a lot about, do I need to go up? And hopefully you've chosen by erring on the conservative side. I'd rather have you say, I'm ready to increase. I need to do more. I could have done more than that. That's the best way to walk away from a workout. If you say, I did too much, it's too late. You probably are not feeling good. You're not going to feel great for the first couple of days, and we don't need to put you in a place where you risk injury. Here's a news flash. The first 6 to 8 weeks of starting, or we know this happens, restarting a program, what we're doing is really making a connection between the brain and the muscle, and they're talking to each other. And that signal is getting stronger. It's like a stronger Wi-Fi signal in your house. And that can't be rushed. So any of the progress that we make in starting a program, 6 to 8 weeks of that is just this connection. Going heavier doesn't increase the speed that we get that connection. So start small, go slow, get form, get technique, get the details, so we can always go heavier. If you haven't been lifting up to now, or haven't started or restarted till now, take the time to lay this really strong foundation, and you'll be glad that you did. Women in midlife can be a little bit more prone to injury because as estrogen goes down, that connective tissue, the collagen, is not there. So you might supplement with collagen, make sure you're getting adequate protein. Those things will help. And if you're doing hormone replacement, this is not a persuasive argument. You might find you get better results because the efficacy of the exercise that you're doing could be better with hormone replacement. When that cocktail for you is in your sweet spot, it will probably serve you well. So that said, let's go to heavy, right? So the range of light was, again, somewhere between 2 and 5 pounds. The range of medium or moderate level weight is between 8 and maybe 15 pounds. And generally, if you're at a gym, you'll find this easier. You can buy little applications of, we can put something on the end of a weight that will increase it by increments of 2.5 pounds. Those are hard to find sometimes, but you may be able to find 5 and 8 and even 7 or 7.5 and 10 and 12 and 15. So increments that are smaller as opposed to just going from 5 to 10 to 15 is a big jump. So heavy, again, relative to you and me, but heavy weights are probably somewhere in that upper level of maybe 15 is heavy for you right now, but 20 to 25 to 30, maybe even 35 pounds. So you may have those dumbbells at home. You may have access to those at a gym. You could be using a barbell, but my suggestion would be this, that dumbbells are much more versatile. And when we're holding something in our hand, and I'm looking around my table looking for something, but you know how we often will just, we've got packages in one hand and we've got a purse in the other, or we've got a child over here and we're pulling a door open. You know, this is one arm kind of work. And when you can do a lift with one arm or independently, you're moving both at the same time, but they each are in charge of the weight, it's a little more lifelike. We call that functional. So if you are lifting a bar or you're pushing on a machine, it may allow you to lift a little heavier, but it's not as like life. And we really want to mimic life without getting too crazy in our exercise in order for the life tasks we do every day to get easier. Daily activities of living should be simpler, easier, we breeze through, have plenty of energy to do the fun stuff. That's the goal. So there you have it, kind of a good description. What I'm going to do is take you through a wide variety of activities, talk you through what do you want to look at and be aware of. So I'm going to start with small exercises for your shoulders and look at, we'll go from the use of small weights, lighter weights, when is that appropriate? And as I mentioned, it's appropriate at the end of a workout, even if you're used to, if I would do that exercise first, I could go heavier. Shoulders are most at risk for injury. So I am very careful with my own shoulders. The last thing I want to do is not be able to swim or be limited or feel pain in motion in my shoulder. So we want to make sure that we're using smaller weights, we're doing this adequately and appropriately for our own limitations and not creating any. So do no harm. That's what physicians say, but I think fitness professionals also should say this, and we should say that about ourselves. So when we're talking moderate, medium weights, probably biceps and triceps. So maybe we're doing a kickback, but we might be coming up and overhead if we have the range of motion to do that. Those are small muscle groups. And did you notice what I did? This is a very short lever, right? If I'm lifting one, this is one joint doing the motion. one joint doing the motion, that's kind of medium moderate. And again, though, if that were at the end of a workout, you might end up downsizing or shifting down to some of your lighter weights because you've done a lot of volume, a lot of sets, a lot of repetitions, and now you're going to go even lighter. You could be surprised when you get to the end of a workout and you've really done your job, reaching muscular fatigue or very close to it at the end of a set and all the way through. You did that, you did yourself a great service for gaining lean muscle tissue and supporting your bone density, but that might mean at the end you're picking up 3 or 5 pounds and you think, this is silly, this is ridiculous, and it is okay. Someone the other day said, I'm so surprised you use 3 pounds, but I do what's appropriate in the moment I'm in, and I don't allow myself to think, oh, I could never lift that lightweight. I should not do that. I should be able to do more. When it feels heavy, it is heavy. So feels like and perceived exertion are really important for you to listen to because those joints, ligaments, and the muscle are all talking to you. So let's take a look at what's heavier. So in lifting heavier, larger muscles of the chest as we're doing chest press, whether it's 1 arm or 2 arms, that's heavier weight. When we're doing rowing exercises, so if we're doing it at home, we're doing it in some fashion where we're doing a bent over row, pulling up, that's going to be a little heavier. And definitely when we're doing things with the lower body, the limitation we'll have at home is sometimes holding weights in our hands. How much can I hold in my hands without losing the grip or without it pulling me down and dropping this tension here while we're being pulled down, pulling you into poor posture or having you work up and against it. So we want you to hold a weight where you have control as you're doing lower body like a squat, or you're doing a lunge and coming down and up with that to load through the glutes, the quadriceps, and the hamstrings doing the work. So thinking about it's not potentially just the limiting factor of the weight that you can do with that lower body, but it's how much can I hold in the upper body. So if you were lifting weight at a gym, you could be on a leg press and probably lift a lot heavier, and that does not mean that you can't fatigue muscles at home. I promise you, you can. I've been doing this for 4 decades. I can reach muscular fatigue at home, and sometimes doing those lighter weights actually gets you into muscles that will fire when you go heavier that do not. So let's look at the summary. You've got a great set of 3 weights. Is a perfect starting point. Here's the thing. You're going to have nuances that occur based on the sequence of exercises. They should never be exactly the same. If we give you, here's a great workout, it's not going to be great if you repeat that workout every week for weeks and months on end. It's no longer good because your body's adapted to it. Changing the sequence of exercises and still following a few rules about when the rest and the recovery comes between those exercises can change everything. For those of you who can't lift extremely heavy, changing tempo, changing the timing and sequence of exercise is even more important. As we age, for all of us, that becomes important. Designing an exercise program is not as easy as just throw these exercises out, do these, in any order, it doesn't matter. It absolutely matters. Sequence is everything. Timing is everything. The number of sets and repetitions and the amount of rest between them in order to have a very efficient but also effective and not random, according to mood, but according to research and proven protocols that we know work. That is a really important thing. So if you feel like you're at a loss for I don't know what to do, or what you're doing randomly on YouTube is not working, look for an organized program. And if you want tips on how to get notified when Stronger is open, click below. Drop your questions below. Ask about sequencing of exercises. And hope that was helpful.